What's up, guys? We back. I know it's been a while since we dropped the episode. I know you guys miss us, but we're here bringing you another episode in the Let's Talk series on King Talk Live. I'm here with my man.
You know, like first in the building.
Let's Talk series, where we usually talk about personal development, spiritual growth, and current events. So, without further ado, let's get the show on the road because there's a lot to talk about. So yeah, man. Like I said, it's there's so much since the last episode. The last episode we were talking a lot about the elections. We touched upon that. Now the big thing that everybody's talking about, there ain't nothing else. We ain't talking about this. We ain't even talk. This how you know this thing is so big. I haven't really watched the news as much, but I'm listening to what people say. People talk about it. You don't need to watch the news. People will talk about it. Um, I don't know if you heard about the guy that got shot pretty much at his doorway as he was going inside. You
Mm-hmm.
heard about that one? You
Yep.
notice that that's not getting as much buzz right now because the main focus right now is the vaccine, and it's like in terms of that, I've been having this conversation with Juanica, and I'm like, if it comes down to them telling me that I have to take this to go to work, I'm done. I'm not
Right.
working there. I'm
Right.
not working there, bro.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not working there. I'm gonna have to either figure something else out, but I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to put that thing in my body. I don't know what it is. You know, there's all types conspiracy theories behind it, but at the end of the day, I don't really necessarily know what that is. And whenever they try to push a lot of things on our community first, and they trying to give it to us, and they paying people to take this. That's
Hmm.
how you know something's up. What's
Right.
that all about? So I don't
Correct.
know if you want to say anything about it, bro. We could talk about it. So let's talk, man.
You already know, bro. So I mean, you already know how we do here, right? We like to get into things and we like to dissect, right? So just to keep things in its context, right? I think it's a transition, and what I mean by that is everyone is so fixated on covert, right? So even when we think about covert within itself, right? So obviously we're in a pandemic, right? And as far as how do we transition through this pandemic, a part of that is going to consist of us having to be vaccinated, right? So I think so now we got to understand, all right, what is it that we understand about covert, right? And then understanding whatever that is then now putting that, seeing how those things correlate with one another. This is what I mean, right? So if you get covert right now, what is the remedy? 14 days. If you, and that's if you test positive. If you were exposed to exposed to someone who did test positive, what is the remedy? 14 days, right? So what I'm saying, you have the same remedy if you test positive, and or even if you didn't test positive and you was around someone. But what they don't say is how our bodies naturally heal itself from whatever this is that they're calling COVID-19, right? But they don't highlight those things in regards to when you go to the hospital and you go get tested, right? Then they say to you have to wait. Just overall, when we just break things down and put it into the right, context as far as understanding covert within itself, as far as, okay, boom, we have covert, and then when we look at it from through the lens of, all right, now understanding that you have all these individuals who's naturally recovering, right?
Hmm.
But they don't highlight that, right? All they talk about is people who has caught covert and the deaths that has led to it, right? Not even right, and which we understand that those numbers are skewed, and that's a fact, right?
Of
Again, it's
course.
you choose to understand the stuff that people are saying very apparently, or you could just be like, oh, those are conspiracies, right? However you want to slice the cake, it's out there. The information is there. You just have to understand how to process information as it's being exposed to us. So I think ultimately that the fear that is in terms of the perception, how it's being weaponized through, obviously social media, news, radio, everywhere, right? And what they do, they use our celebrities, right? They use the people who we idolize to go out there and to preach that message, right? And they also use individuals to control what narrative of however they want to highlight a certain part of whatever the message is, right? So we understand how these individuals selectively, based upon the agenda, will insert certain things relevant to whatever they're trying to get a spark from, right? Like you had said earlier, did I hear about the debt? The reason why that's not significant is because right now, whatever they're doing, they have the momentum. And as soon as that momentum starts to fade away and more of this, in terms of what we're talking about, it takes the highlight. And guess what? They back onto murdering Black people again. We understand the tactics, we understand the games. It's just funny that we have a bunch of us who act completely oblivious to these things, right? So in regards to covert, I feel like covert is significantly responsible for a lot of people operating in fear. But the unfortunate part is when you ask these people, what are you so afraid of? Right? Specifically, what are you so afraid of? They can't even answer the questions because it's just, oh, well, no, the government says this and the government says, right? But you don't even know what you're afraid of. But yet, still people are just using that word so candidly. Oh, I'm so
Yeah,
afraid of what?
yeah,
Right?
exactly. Because at the end of the day, the worst it's gonna do is kill you. That's it. And if you don't fear that, how could you fear COVID?
Come on.
Or covert, just say. I like that name though, covert. But yeah, even when I've been saying that when you look at the news, how they put the number, it's how many. No, actually, they go global, then they go United States, then they put the debt rate of all of the globe, and then they come back to United States. So it's like, where's the recovery at?
Come on.
We don't talk about the recovery
Yeah.
because why? Because then you can't push the fear that people are recovering from it, and people have recovered from it.
Facts.
And at the same time, it's like there is a great question that I would love to ask. It's like if I don't know the initial number right now, I think it's 1.5 million across the world. How many people? So this thing has been around for about a year now, right?
Right. Right.
And it has killed 1.5 million people, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
How many people die per year around the globe?
Hmm.
That's a great question.
Facts.
That is a real great question because we are reacting to something that killed our population is what 7.5 billion people.
Correct. Correct. Yep.
Yeah, so it's like, and 1.5 million died. Nothing against the people that died. I'm not saying that, nothing
Correct.
against that. But at the same time, it's like to how we are reacting to it and to how much fear that's being pushed out by it. It sounds like there's an agenda behind it because they've been talking about this whole vaccine thing for a long time now.
Facts.
I feel like it's a perfect thing. You can't see it, you don't know what it is, and you can't tell if it's in the air. First, it was in the air. First, it couldn't stick on objects. Now it can stay there for days. It's like the information keeps evolving and changing, and then one could easily say, "Oh no, it's because we're finding out more about it."
Hmm.
What? But if you're learning more about it, why do you come out and blatantly say, "Oh, it sticks in the air" or whatever the case may be? And the other day, so I heard I was listening to Breakfast Club in the morning, and they were talking about how they said that three former presidents are gonna take the shot, to
Hmm.
show people that, oh no, it's safe, and I list them off before I even knew who they were. And when I said it, she's like, how did you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, because those people fall into a specific agenda that they're trying to push. But it
Right.
was just like, and then she sent me a message. She was like, "Oh, how did you know that though?" Well, one could easily say, "No, no, those are the ones that are alive." There's no because one's two is a Democrat and one is a Republican. So
Hmm.
one may not see that. Oh, nah, there's no connection. They're from two different parties. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? There's no connection there. You feel me?
Right.
What you don't know is that they're all this. It's the same bird, man. It don't matter. Then it does not matter. So right now, it's just like in terms of the vaccine, it's just that. they're trying their hardest to push it. And, ultimately, the thing that we need to think about is how how are we going to really combat not taking this? Because if they do get to the point where it's mandated, you're not going to really be able to do much
Mhm.
because of how the system is set up. You're
Right.
not going to really be able to do much. So
Facts.
one might ask, it's like, why why the rush to push it out? You don't fully get a grasp on what COVID is. You're still learning about it. Because if you look at all the symptoms that they have, it's anything.
Mhm.
And if you really read all those, it's anything. It's really anything. It just sounds like you just went through your life. Go through all the symptoms. Let's get this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And none of it even make any sense. It's like this one, I'm like, I looked at, they had this chart, right? At my job. They had a chart where they had covert, the flu, and a cold. And it's like, they're all the same thing. So how does one truly know what you really have? And the only remedy that, like you just mentioned, that they have is the 14-day isolation. And now you're saying that, but listen to this is the kicker, right? So I don't really necessarily know. Don't quote me on this. You can definitely write something in the comments to educate me because I'm more than willing to learn. In terms of the vaccine, it seems like that they're not going to give it to people that already have COVID. That's what it sounded like to me. So I thought the whole point was to, because if you're not going to give it to the people that already have it, and you're giving it to people that don't have it, what's going to stop it from keep going? Because there's going to be people that don't take it. You know what I mean? So I don't really know how vaccines work. If you do, please enlighten me on this stuff because I've been trying to ask people and everybody's telling me, oh, go do your research or go look into it. Nobody can tell me how this thing works. So I don't know what you know about it. Life first, maybe you can lighten enlighten me in
Yeah.
terms of
Yeah.
what you know about it.
Yeah. Now, I mean, personally, I'm right where you at. You know, honestly, I think how they designate information is what a sole agenda to confuse us, right? So ultimately, when they put things out, it's never clear, precise. This is the science behind it. This is the research we have did to support the science behind it, right? Which then we could, with essentially repeating steps, which then can come to a same conclusion, right? Yeah, I mean, in that determination. So we don't even have science or data supporting that this vaccination could be administered, right, over a period of time, right? You know, because like when you really think about it, right, how much time is enough time, right? Well, shit, if it's going in my body, I'm going to need to know. And until I could have a definitive saying that this is going to do exactly and only what this is supposed to do, then nah, that's it's never going to be good enough for me. If there's a percentage off that suggests otherwise, then I'm all set. And furthermore, right? And here we go again. They pose you with a problem, right? And then giving you now to be at opposite ends of it, right? In terms of coming up with the solution. While all along, who's to say that I haven't said that I want even to participate in this game, right? So that's how they go about doing it. So to your point, I think that's the sole purpose, right? So they're going to be vague with it, right? That's why they're pushing it and doing it how they're doing it right now, because they already know they're full of crap. They already know that. Do you know what the irony with this whole thing is? Just a couple of months ago, right? They released that, and I can't even think about the. There was a study that was done, but it finally got released, and in the video that I shared, right, that out of all the vaccinations, every single vaccination that have ever been administered, right, it's never been safely checked to make sure that these vaccines that was administered was actually supposed to do what it suggested that it was going to do. But what it did determine is it actually led to all of these most common, sicknesses, right, that we experience today, right? So you got to actually, and again, this is information that you could just simply go and look into, and you can clearly see how these two things connect to one another, right? So this is not something I'm just saying this again, take our word for it. You can educate yourself, you can find this information out, so I just think that once, if we put that into perspective, understanding that, right? So just imagine that, right? They said at best it takes at least 6 to 7 years and a minimum to figure out or to develop a vaccine. And then I would then say, what is that even based upon specifically, right? 6 to 7 years. What is that even based upon? Needless to say, and then they went on to say, but more so, it should be more like 7 to 9 years in order to develop a vaccine. Now we have a pandemic already. In the beginning, they said we don't even know what it is. Things keep changing. That's why we have to keep changing, right? So just imagine that, right? So so they're saying in real time, we don't know what's going on. We're trying to do our best to understand it. Now all of a sudden, you're trying to tell me you guys went from not even understanding this covert still to the point where you can't even tell us how exactly do people get this, and then once they do get it, what exactly is it doing inside of the human body, right? So we can't even have those basic things, but then all of a sudden, oh, guess what? But we got a vaccine. Boom, right? We got it, right? So, and then when you hear people, right? And again, no shots to anyone, right? But when you hear people, just saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to take it. Again, freedom of expression, that's your choice. More power to you, right? But then when I say that, when I will mention, so you're okay with this particular vaccination having all of these other substances in it. What are you talking about? No, but a second ago you just said you're okay with taking it. So how could we be okay with taking something without even understanding? You see, here's the thing, right? I was once, I got kids, right? And in the beginning, because of my ignorance, and I didn't wanted to understand what I was being complicit to, right? When I vaccinated my kids, right, when younger, but then as I understood it, as I became older, then I'm like, right, it's if you know this stuff, why are you being complicit to it? Like, I don't understand it, right? At the end of the day, then what's the purpose of all of this? For what? Just to be told that you came into a life or into existence, and every part of every aspect is this control, control, control. I don't get it, man. Like, so it's going to be very interesting, like you said, right? Because obviously, as we know, they're making amendments to such laws as far as making it to where now they could enforce certain things, right? So, a part of your earlier question was, what are some of the things that we can be doing? Well, calling our town hall, saying that we do not stand for this, right? Mayor's office, governor, right? Locally, just any form of communication by phone, by email, by mail. This, as within the community, we have. This is us taking action for something that we, for in terms of the people who's against it, could at least have their voice to say, and it shouldn't be based upon religion, right? Literally, this should be your right as a human being. If I'm saying I don't want something in my body, nobody should be able to tell me in the sake of anything that you have to. So I think ultimately, and here we go again, right? Now you see how how perfect, right? I'm going to use that word, how perfect this is. So now we're relying on having to go to who? The government to express how we feel, as far as something that they're creating. Now to you having then to participate to say, well, no, I'm not for this. Just think about, again, right, that kind of control. So now it's you saying that in order, so now you're establishing the government in terms of their, how they're viewed. And now you're saying, in order for me even to get over this bridge, I got to pay this toll, right? Psychologically, I got to pay this toll because why? These people are going to come and it's going to be mass this and mass that, right? So is this pretty interesting, bro? When we look at it from all parts of the spectrum, as far as these types of tactics and these kind of games that's being played right now. But again, I'm a big believer that that is just a process that we're going to be transitioning as a people. But it's going to come a point where we ain't gonna be doing no more of this, and it's gonna be time to show out. You know what I mean? So.
Of all the species that live on this planet, we're the only ones that pay to live here. Let that sink in for a little bit.
Mm.
We are the only ones that pay to live here.
Mm.
Nothing from the flea on the ground to the giraffe and the elephant, the blue whale, the biggest animal that ever lived on this planet. They don't pay to live here. But because we have social constructs, we decided that no, you know what, I'm gonna pay to live here. And that's just something that I thought about, and it was just like it don't make no sense.
Right.
You don't own nothing. You don't Matter of fact, you don't own anything.
Come on.
Because once you die, you can't bring it with you. So how can you own it? If you really own it, you would have took it with you, right? So you
Right.
don't really own anything.
Mm.
So at the end of the day, it's just like in terms of that construct and how it's set up, it just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yes, granted, you make something and somebody else want to use it, then that's where the payment comes in. But at the end of the day, it's like to pay to live here. What?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you don't see no other only thing the other animals, the other species on these planets are trying to do is pretty much survive. They go out, they gather their food, and that's it.
Right.
That's it. Occasionally try to mate, and that's it.
Yep. Yep.
End of it. But we, the smartest species on this planet, try to do too much. I feel like we do too much. We
Right.
overcomplicated things. We really overcomplicated things for no reason.
Mm.
So at the end of the day, it's like the energy's changing right now, and I could feel it. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the planets are really close to us right now.
Facts.
A lot of the planets are really close.
Yeah.
Every morning I wake up, I see what is it, Venus?
Mm-hmm.
Venus is very bright in the morning. If you ever wake up and you look, you see this bright star illuminating right there. That's
Yeah.
Venus. You can see
Yeah.
Mars. Mars is very red. If you look at it, you see Saturn and it's not Uranus, it's the other one, Neptune.
Okay.
They're like right. There's a big one. There's like the bigger one, and then it's like right above it. So just those things in the shift in energy.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about December 21st. I don't know how much you know about that.
Very. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the shift in energies
Yeah.
supposed to be going to age of Aquarius. I'm very interested to see what that's going to turn out to be.
Mhm.
In terms of December 21st, I know there's a lot of anticipation for that day. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. It's probably gonna be just another day. Let's just start there because a lot of times where we've been there, Y2K, 2012, like we've been there where we're anticipating something to happen and nothing happens. So, like I say, lower your expectations and understand that life goes on, point blank, period. And it's very interesting that, the vaccine is going to be approved or try to be pushed out close to that date. So, there might be a little something there. Maybe it's a big coincidence. Who really knows?